This is Defenders TV Podcast, episode 114, where we're talking about Defenders Season 1, Episode 2.
You think I'm holding back?
Welcome back, fellow Defenders. This is Defenders TV Podcast, and this is episode 114. But more importantly, this is where we are reviewing The Defenders Season 1, Episode 2. I'm one of your hosts, Chris.
I'm one of your other hosts, Derek.
Hi, and I'm your final host, John, fresh from a Jessica Jones-style drinking session.
Yes, one of our Defenders is slowly turning into Jessica in alcoholic consumption only.
Yes. No cases for you, John.
Absolutely. If I fall asleep, it's not because of the episode, which was excellent. It is more because I didn't get that much sleep.
That's all right. I love when we do it no sleep style. There's a lot of our listeners who will have sat up, watched all 8 episodes of The Defenders back to back, and then they're coming to us directly afterwards. So they also may be asleep, and not to do with the quality of our podcasts.
Well, we hope.
We hope. Absolutely.
But welcome, fellow Defenders. Yeah, it's great to have you here with us for the second episode of Defenders. Really cool.
Yes, and you do have 113 other episodes to go back on if you are freshly joining us. If you are not joining us for the first time, you are one of our fellow members. You know how we do this, so you can skip ahead 10 seconds. But for our newcomers, welcome. We are watching in advance at the moment. Thank you to Netflix for providing us some screeners. Basically, how we review the shows is we watch one episode, we record a podcast where we take a combined top 5 points and basically then go through some notes, discuss the points and discuss the notes, and finally coming down to what we deem and do we defend the episode, yes or no. So guys, I don't want to jump around too much, but if they wanted to find and communicate with their fellow Defenders and ourselves, where can they find us?
Yes, you can head on over to defenderstvpodcast.com and leave us a voicemail. Just click on the tab on the right hand side of your computer screen. And of course, you can contact us by email at feedback@defenderstvpodcast.com. Yes, you can send anything you want with regards to the episodes of The Defenders or any of the individual Defenders as well. Just send on over your comments, thoughts, questions, and let us know.
Now, one bit on that, because we don't watch ahead and we record as we watch, if you are sending any emails or voicemails in, please mark which episodes you're giving feedback on, but we don't want to just suddenly have the end of the series ruined for us. Not that you would do that, but just in case.
That's never happened.
No, never. You can also join us over on Facebook at Defenders TV Podcast, or more importantly, come join the community, our group at facebook.com/groups/Defenders TV Podcast, where we nerdily discuss in the most flamboyant and harmonious way what we liked about the episodes. We put up spoiler posts so you can watch along at your own pace, and that's where we'll have those meaty discussions on what exactly did Jessica mean when she punched Luke in the face, because we know it's going to happen.
It's coming, I'm sure.
Oh, and there was another punch in the face this episode well.
There was.
One final thing, if you want to subscribe to the podcast, you can subscribe over on Apple Podcasts by going to defenderstvpodcast.com/iTunes. You can get all of our episodes there. The way we're covering them, as Chris said, is watching an episode and recording a podcast, but we do put them out at different days. So each episode from now on is going to be released on Monday, and then another episode on Friday of the following week. Each week, it'll be done that way until we finish The Defenders.
Yes, and this is you're quite lucky you were getting 2 episodes in one day. For this, because we are releasing this episode on the 18th of August. So hopefully you have just binge watched 2 episodes and are now listening to our dulcet tones.
Yes.
But should we kind of crack on with it, lads? Because I think we have a lot to discuss.
We do.
We really do. So, Derek, do you want to tell us who wrote and directed this episode?
Sure. This episode was written by Lauren Smith-Hisrich and Marco Ramirez, another good team-up from former episode writers. Lauren Smith-Hisrich was a writer on Daredevil episodes Kimbaku, 7 Minutes in Heaven, and The Dark at the End of the Tunnel, so comes with lots of Daredevil knowledge. Marco Ramirez is obviously the showrunner and wrote episode 1, and Lauren Smith-Hisrich will continue on for episode 3. She'll write that episode as well. So it seems like they're also going for a bit of a team-up vibe for the writers in the office as well. So that's quite cool.
It's the writing defenders.
Yes, definitely, and they're doing pretty good so far. This episode was directed by S.J. Clarkson again. She directed episode 1 of the series, obviously, as you've probably just heard on our previous podcast. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for the episode?
Sure. After the Hell's Kitchen earthquake, Matt Murdock finds it hard to control his inner devil. But after meeting up with Foggy for a few drinks at Josie's bar, he takes some of Nelson's casework to focus his mind elsewhere. Luke begins to hit the new bar in Harlem, Trouble in Paradise, to get a lead on the mystery surrounding the increasing body count of young men and uncovers a new player in Harlem known as the White Hat. He tracks one of the White Hat's vans as it goes off to dispose of dead bodies of allies of Kunlun following an attack by the Hand. There he meets Danny Rand, who, believing Luke is somehow connected to the bodies inside the Katana workshop, unleashes the Iron Fist on Luke, testing his unbreakable skin. Jessica, meanwhile, calls in the explosive find to the NYPD and the feds, before snatching evidence collected at the scene. As she investigates a number of shell companies in New York, she is warned off pursuing the case by Hogarth, before an encounter with a fearful John Raymond in her apartment leads to Raymond killing himself as Elektra comes to silence him. As Jessica chases after Elektra, Misty Knight catches up with her for her previous indiscretion and arrests her. At the police precinct, her interrogation is interrupted as her new and unexpected attorney, Matt Murdock, arrives to defend her.
Well done, John.
With a hangover, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow defenders, that is an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yes. Although this synopsis probably has just been edited down to make it appear as though all was well.
That's my job.
Yeah,
that probably took about 30 minutes to actually say.
There was some of us having a snooze, but more importantly, people, what a cliffhanger!
Mm-hmm. What a moment!
That can just. I'm Matt Murdock, your defender.
Awesome.
Cool.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners know this. This is the same line that Matt Murdock uses when he meets Jessica Jones in the comic books. That's his first time he meets Jessica Jones. He walks in after she's being interrogated by a police officer in New York PD and says to her, "I'm Matt Murdock, your lawyer." So yeah, very cool to have a direct.
From Alias. Yes. Yeah. Wow, very good.
Love that.
So, gentlemen, I think this is time that we get into the nerdy news that all these people need to know about. Well, when I say nerdy news, I mean top 5 points. So, let's start with point 1, which is Matt is taking up the vigilante stick again.
Yes. His senses were going and tingling quite a lot.
Yes.
Spidey-like, if you will, as he was atop that roof.
It's very cool. It's very unusual that you get to see a superhero like this dressed in a suit from work, standing on top of a building, going to jump into action. We haven't seen it much in any of the Daredevil shows where Matt springs into action wearing his office uniform, effectively, not wearing the Daredevil suit at all, not wearing anything to protect himself. So I think what's cool about this is the fight that he gets into. He's going through the fight, doing some awesome moves, but also protecting his face. He's blocking, putting a hand in front of his face. He's putting things up so that people can't see that it's Matt, because he looks exactly like he does in his street clothes, effectively. So I thought that was.
But they were his street clothes.
Yeah. Exactly.
The one bit I did love is the parkour across the rooftops in the suit.
Yes. That was very cool.
It was just like one part was just running, and then he did this little leap, which I was like, "Ooh, that's gonna hurt the knees." And then suddenly you're like, "Oh, that was your stunt double," because you just suddenly sprang up as if like from nowhere. I was like, That's a strange edit.
The idea of doing parkour in a suit as well. Oh my god! Like mine would just be ripped to shreds if I tried that, along with my body. But I'd probably trip and fall off the top of the building to my ultimate death.
I was just more surprised he didn't use the tie as a weapon in this. I was like, oh, that would be perfect who needs nunchucks when you have a silk kind of red tie? It'd be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, it just goes with everything and a deadly weapon at the same time.
Chucking his cufflinks at them like kind of ninja stars or something.
Very cool.
That's very cool. Quick question though, was he actually helping the bad guys? Yeah, because weren't the kids stealing from? Yeah.
It was gradients of bad guys. Yeah,
Yes.
it was kind of like Matt doesn't like guns. He doesn't like people shooting other people. That's kind of what it felt like. So he was just stopping the two guys with shotguns from killing kids who were stealing their stuff. And I believe they actually got away with some of it.
They did, yeah.
They carried a big TV box. That's why I was like, that's a couple of grand.
I know.
No, I wasn't too happy with. I have to admit, I loved seeing Charlie Cox back in action. He's a lot more limber than previous in the previous seasons.
It might be the suit, as in the Daredevil suit, probably
It's quite heavy.
makes him maybe restricts his movement a bit more, a bit stiffer. Because normally it would be kind of almost like a tight lycra. You know, like from the comics. Like, with the armor, it would be a bit more restrictive.
Yeah.
I just have this vision of the Simpsons quote where Ned Flanders wearing the ski suit going,
Absolutely.
it's like I'm wearing nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. That's all I'm going to see now.
Well, it would certainly be the powers of distraction for attacking his enemies.
No, it just seems he's less physical, brutish.
Mm-hmm.
The boxer, he was doing a bit more of the flips and the twirls and the kind of the flamboyant twist, which I think is what always Daredevil was to me in the comic books.
Right, yeah.
He's a bit more acrobatic.
Yes.
That was the thing, like, because of his enhanced senses, he had this amazing sense of equilibrium.
Mm-hmm.
So he could do the swings. He was able to kind of keep up with Spidey as he swung across Manhattan.
Yeah.
Because he's able to run across power lines and things like that. So this feels for me very Daredevil-y.
I have this feeling of him getting a massive electric shock as he hits a power line.
No, he's like a bird, you know. Like they
So
barely
light.
touch it enough, and it's light touch.
I definitely get what you mean, Chris. There's definitely a lot more flipping and movement within Daredevil. I wonder, will we see a bit of a change in him when he does don the costume in future?
Yeah.
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping because it seems like a natural evolution of he had a bit more of the anger in him over the last 2 seasons, and I'm hoping that this is kind of a cathartic kind of awakening for Daredevil,
Right.
that he can use his powers a bit more, etc.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, he was very close to putting the suit back on when he got back home after this fight in the alley. He was standing over the over the box that keeps his suit until we hear that familiar call that we've heard for the last 2 seasons of Daredevil, Foggy. Which is so cute.
Foggy.
It really is. It always makes me smile when you hear that little noise.
Foggy.
Very cute.
Yeah, I had forgotten that it was the mobile phone, and I thought he'd put an alarm on the box to warn him off. I didn't think it was saying foggy. I thought it was saying something else.
But the strange thing is, he left the alleyway at nighttime, by the way, and it was daytime by the time he got back.
Yeah.
So either he took a very long route, meandering route home, or he did some other vigilanteism.
I think he did a
on
lot
the way
more.
home.
Remember, his house or his apartment is effectively under a huge spotlight that only he can survive. So maybe it just looked like daytime when he arrived back at the apartment.
Yeah, because it would have been
There's
red
so
then.
much lights. Yeah, no, you're right. That is correct. But it is absolutely possible that he went out and did a bit more vigilantism, hopefully protecting some innocents from being beaten up after the earthquake.
Yeah, because he chose, out of all the innocents, he chose to save the robbers.
Did one of the robbers see him, or one of the guys with the shotguns? Did they see Matt Murdock's face?
What the shotguns did.
I
Yes.
think one of them did.
Yeah.
Which is quite
So
interesting.
that will come back, I'd say, to bite him in the ass.
I think so.
Proverbially. Let's go back to Foggy. This was great for me. This meet up in Josie's.
Oh yeah.
I'm happy they went back. You had the joke from Josie's that we don't get your kind down here anymore. So Foggy is doing well in Hogarth, Chow, and Benowitz. Like, we were seeing this now, that this is like, he feels that he can't help the little people like he used to, but he's still able to and help out his best mate by giving these kind of more pro bono, smaller cases to Matt.
I like that. I like the idea that he would pass on these cases to Matt, and Matt would make some money out of them, and he'd also keep himself busy. You know, this idea that he's got an addiction to being Daredevil now, and that's what Foggy's saying. And the only way to wean himself off that addiction is to force himself into the other addiction that he has, which is his law work. I thought that was a nice little touch from Foggy.
Yeah, it was good to see them back together, certainly because you'd gotten Matt and Karen in the first episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw Foggy briefly getting Luke Cage out of Seagate. But I really enjoyed this. It was nice to be back in Josie's bar, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Which I think is where I was last night.
Well, we're not quite sure where you were last night. But anyway, I'm the comment about Karen. What do you guys think? This is that he's still nervous that Matt has revealed he is Daredevil to Karen, who is now a
journalist.
Well, prominent journalist. She has her own office.
Yeah.
Not in the bullpen like everyone else. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think this is quite interesting. It was quite an odd discussion, I suppose. I wasn't really expecting Foggy to be really nervous about Karen revealing the secret of Daredevil to the world. They're all friends. They all know the secret now, effectively, but it seems like they don't talk about it amongst themselves much. That's what it feels like. So this is why Foggy's going. He's saying that if she does reveal the secret, then they'll both be disbarred, which is quite interesting. So he's very fearful of losing his career if this gets revealed because of his connection to the vigilante, effectively. I thought that was quite an interesting touch, and again, another nice storyline for Daredevil to lead off with.
I can't agree more. I can't. Okay, well, look, let's kind of wrap up Matt. Like, we know that he does end with obviously going to see. He does end going to see Jessica, and that's kind of how the story ends. But obviously, the way he started was in this wake of this earthquake. So, kind of, I think the second point from kind of my side is that we get the Trish Talk call.
Yes.
And this was kind of really interesting, like that this wasn't an earthquake. Earthquakes are usually quite 4 point something, and they're miles below the earth. And we get this famous line, "It was only 300 feet deep."
As the phone call is hung up on.
Yes.
A couple of really cool things about this scene. Firstly, I love having Patsy Walker, Trish Walker in the show. I think it's such a great tool. They used her this way in Luke Cage as well, where she's the kind of talking point with the public. You hear her on the radio, everybody talks to her. It's a great mechanism to use in the show to kind of speak to the wider world when you're not focused on the main characters. It's a cool idea. But this idea here that she's got a phone call from a scientist who's saying to her straight off, this is not an earthquake, that something else is happening here. And then it gets cut off because upstairs called down to say they got to stop talking about this earthquake stuff. Clearly the Hand have gotten involved in the radio station and gotten her to stop this talk.
The epicenter in Hell's Kitchen and 4.6 magnitude on the Richter scale. 300 foot deep, whereas a shallow earthquake would be 50 kilometers.
That's right.
Down.
Yeah.
This wasn't shallow. Yeah, it was really good seeing that, I think.
And what does this mean, gentlemen? It means our hole is back.
Yes.
In Hell's Kitchen.
100%.
Yeah.
And we also know what is down there, down in that hole. To some extent, we haven't seen it, obviously, but we do have Madame Gao coming in to talk to Alexandra to say that there is a gate or door of some kind with inscriptions of Kunlun on it, and that she's tried everything to try and open it. And we get a really nice little discussion between the two ladies, I think, where Alexandra goes, that's the difference between me and you. You will quickly rethink something, whereas I'm a little bit more stubborn.
Yes.
But yeah, they kind of come to this point where it's not blocking, but Alexandra says it's more of a door, and obviously you need a key. And I like the fact that she's a bit scathing of the masters of Kunlun here, where, you know, they were so dogmatic, so focused on one thing that it makes them predictable,
yes,
effectively. So I can only presume that that key is the Iron Fist.
It has to be, doesn't it? It has to be the Iron Fist. So now they have to encourage him to go down underground and smash through this wall.
Yes.
And they will, and I could already see it. Kind of Danny breaks open the seal by thinking that he was helping everyone by doing it, and unwittingly releases some catastrophe on the planet, or on a kind of Hell's Kitchen, if you will. I could see that kind of straight away. Just as soon as they started saying it needs a key. I was like, yeah, okay, I can kind of telegraph this.
Yeah.
I hope they go down a different route, but
I don't mind if they go down that route. I think the more interesting thing is what's behind the wall, and why is Kunlun blocking that off from the world, and what have they found in other countries where these types of places have been, which is what they've said. This isn't the first time this has happened. This is just the most important one in New York. So what's been behind them in the past, and what's going to be behind this one?
Yes, what are they looking for?
Yes, fascinating. Really cool.
Immortal weapons.
Possibly.
Yes, maybe.
Possibly. Or more dragons.
Or maybe to some of the other cities of heaven.
The heavenly cities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well, anyway, either way, Trish is suspicious now.
I love the fact
because
that...
of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I also love the fact that Trisha's car was in a pothole, so she thinks it's getting towed again. It's almost like a repeat of the episode 1 scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's down in a massive pothole that's been created by the earthquake.
Yes.
Poor Trish.
Poor Trish. She doesn't seem to take very good care of her car, really, does she?
No, not at all. And also, if you were spending money on that type of apartment, you'd assume they would have underground parking.
I think it sounds like it's beside work. She drives to work in New York, which is very unusual.
Yes,
New York's a very busy city. So on-street parking, not very cool in New York. Yeah, but I think we can go on to our next point. I think Jessica Jones meeting Misty Knight is quite cool. There's a nice moment here. I love how the two of them are brought together. This is after Jessica found that big, huge stash of explosives in episode 1. She calls it in and stays there and waits. I love her conversation with the FBI guy who is trying to get more and more information out of Jessica. Jessica's not very good in these types of interviews, is she?
No, not at all.
So Misty's first line to her is, "You've got a mouth," straight off the bat to Jessica. So first interaction between two major characters is always cool, and that's what this show is about, getting these moments between characters who've never worked together before. So pretty cool. Jessica then goes on to her investigation. She does, even though she's reported it all in, she steals the delivery docket with the company name on it, so that she can investigate what's going on, investigate all the company records and find out where they are. This is quite cool. So this is all of the shell organizations that are covering up, going back to the 1800s, apparently. So hundreds of companies all the way back.
Yeah, this was a nice little touch, really. I loved the sort of the increasing frustration of Jessica. She's like, what the hell? And then finally having to ask the librarian, who then says, you need to go to the historical archive. And it's just the kind of, it's just the great expressions that Kristen Ritter does of just like, oh God, this is like such an effort. It's just really, really cool. I just love her reaction. But of course, she bumps into an unexpected person down there as well. Yeah,
yes, she does.
In the form of Hogarth, comes to warn her off. And I'm there going, so is Hogarth somehow... Will their firm, at least at the moment, be sort of involved with these legal things, or was it just to warn her off from the Fed investigation with the explosive? It did seem to be that, but I was wondering, she was obviously tailing her. But I just wondered whether there was maybe a double-edged warning there.
Yeah, I did. Like, it does feel like this whole show is going to explore how deep the hand goes in New York, I suppose. it feels like Jaren Hogarth and her company have some involvement with the Hand, like every company does. I'm not saying they're part of the Hand or anything like that, but I think they have a bit of control over them. Alexandra, Sigourney Weaver's character, seems to have her fingers in many pies. I love this Hand metaphor; it's great. But it seems like they're the ones that are pushing. So if Hogarth's telling Jessica to steer clear of something, knowing that Jessica will never steer clear of it, if she's telling her to, it feels like she's getting that pressure from somebody else outside of it, which to me feels like Alexandra.
Or is it a bit like reverse psychology? Does Jerry know by telling Jessica, no, you do not look in this? It's like dealing with a 2-year-old. You are not going to have that cookie. As the child's hand and the cookie move towards his mouth. It's like, don't. And it's just slowly. Like telling Jessica not to look into this is going to force her to.
Yes, absolutely.
It will push her as, like, you are igniting the engine. And I really think that's what that, personally, I think that's what that was. Like, maybe. Jerry knows she cannot keep her away from danger, so it's like, okay, we need you to go investigate this, finish this out. But also remember, like, we need to look after you. So then she obviously speaks and grabs Foggy.
Right. So that's why you think that she set Foggy following Jessica, is because it's to protect her the whole time rather than...
Yeah, there is that kind of protective sort of aspect of Hogarth, even though she does it in a ice cold way. But they really, she sets Foggy on tracking and just keeping tabs on Jessica Jones. And, you know, obviously she says at the first sign of trouble, get in there and, you know, put someone in there. And keep our name away from it.
Yes.
Which is then interesting because he has given Matt the pro bono work before he's had that conversation with Hogarth. So, because at one stage I was thinking, has Foggy kind of asked Matt to go in to keep, you know, effectively used him to some extent to keep Hogarth, Chow and Benoit's company name from that interrogation.
Right.
But ultimately, he had given the case files before he's had that conversation. So it's just probably more that it's a good happenstance, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very much most likely a phone call prior or post, I should say, the arrest. So that it's like, hey, I've got someone in here. Can you go take a look? So, Jen, sorry to cut in, but let's go back to this 1800 bit.
Yes.
See, I found this really interesting.
Yeah, I did.
In that now, this is showing that, okay, we knew the Hand was an old organization, but that they've been involved in world affairs and corporate affairs and shell companies since the 1800s, since the founding of New York predominantly.
Yes.
Like, they were there. They've been... like, going back to the ancient records.
Funny that you should mention that, Chris, because we did talk about it in episode 1 when Alexandra was talking about the founding of New York and how much they paid for it. And I was making the comment of how old possibly do we think Alexandra is. Is she an ancient? Is she someone that has gone through these procedures to come back to life, that kind of stuff? In this episode, we get a little bit more. It was the next point, really, about Alexandra. There's some more indications here. She talks to... she says... about Brahms, when she's listening to the classical music, and she makes a very specific comment about the type of person that he was.
Yeah, he was petty like that. It was a direct response to Beethoven.
Yes,
to show that he could do what Beethoven did with regards to the music in C minor.
Yes,
and it's like the lady who's maybe the head of the Philharmonic there is. I love your knowledge of music history, but yeah, I think we're getting a sense now, like we discussed on the last episode of the podcast, that Alexandra is a lot older than her age appears.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that maybe she's gone through possibly that process that Elektra and Nobu and Harold Meacham and Bakuto have done in order to effectively come back because of all this sort of long historical knowledge, which kind of the way she says it as
It is.
being as being there and in the first person.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it really does feel like this is a conversation she had with Brahms. Or a conversation that Brahms had with her. It doesn't feel like this is something that's written in a history book that she learnt. It's just the way it's delivered.
But I agree, Chris. I really enjoyed Jessica going through those files. I actually wish they had taken her to the historical archive as well, just to find out, how far does it go back? Was it with, maybe some of the first settlers, on the Mayflower, or, in terms of America, or how far does it spread? Yeah, it was really interesting. Loved that.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. And just kind of moving on to Alexandria, I completely agree with you guys. Although I do not think she is a reanimated, revived member of the Hand. I think she's more Madame Gao kind of level, where she is mystical, has power of Chi or X of Y. We know Madame Gao is at least 300 years old.
Yes.
Potentially more.
Yeah.
So if to be Madame Gao Senior, she predominantly probably has to be older.
You'd feel so. You'd feel so. You feel like she's the one that brought Madame Gao into the organization.
Yes.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going, okay, she maybe is I think we have found the main finger of the Hand, if you will. Yes.
The middle finger.
The middle finger,
Yes.
raising it in the air right at our defenders.
I think so.
She is badass. Sigourney Weaver, for me, I've always had a bit of a kind of a love affair with Sigourney Weaver, just from Ripley, her character Ripley in Alien. Mm-hmm. Aliens. I've always had this kind of love affair with her, and the character. She is the strong woman character. This is the again, this is me kind of. I don't want to come across, and I apologize if I offend in how I say this, but she is what I consider the quintessential strong, empowered female character that a lot of the shows in today's society don't have. Right. And I try not to come across it in a bad way. It's just typically, aside from Jessica and Patsy in this show, thinking about this now, I'm kind of going.
I know.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe has a lot of strong female leads.
Certainly the
or
Netflix
supporting
shows.
character.
Yeah, certainly the Netflix shows. And she almost feels like if Jerry Hogarth got the power that she so desperately craves and became the leader of an evil organization, she would aspire to be Alexandra.
Yes,
that's kind of the path she wishes she could get to. If she could just get rid of that niggling sense of guilt and doubt after she does things wrong, she could become Alexandra.
And Sigourney Weaver's 60, late 50s.
I don't know her age. She could be 1,000 years old. She's still gorgeous and amazing.
Yeah, she's cool, and it's the presence on screen that she has. It's just captivating, really. It really draws you in. Again, I just loved her meeting with Madame Gao. She's helping us to learn about Madame Gao, in that sense, who's been in the episodes, and at the same time revealing how she operates. And I really like that. I love the fact she's always seems to be comparing herself with Madame Gao in these first two meetings in the first two episodes. So it's been really cool.
One of the things I also love is just this scene of her sitting watching a chamber orchestra play for her on her own in her own office. There's something very special about this. There's something very Wilson Fisk about this. Just that moment of her sitting, allowing the music to wash over her, getting a private performance from I think it's the New York Philharmonic, I think it is.
Yeah.
Where they're referencing the fact that she's been putting so much money through them that they'd love to host a gala in her name because of how much money that she's fed through. So I do think that's quite cool as a character. I love the fact that she likes the good things in life, you know?
And the finer things in life. Like, she just donated enough to fix the whole concert hall after this earthquake. So we're talking 6 figures here, minimum.
Yeah.
Potentially a 7-figure in a day. Just went, there you go.
It'll be tax deductible on the balance sheet.
Oh, because we know the Hand are all about that accounting.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we do know they had an accountant.
Exactly.
Little Leslie, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they do. Maybe they're digging the hole underneath the concert hall, and they're just protecting the hole. Perhaps.
Yeah.
Could be. And of course, the other great thing with Sigourney Weaver's character and Alexandra is we see her with Stick, who has been... seems as though he was probably taken hostage from that swordsmith's workshop where all the dead bodies were being dissolved in acid beforehand. But again, there's a nice little interplay here where Alexandra kind of says, try not to bite, old friend. But we have, Chris, your theory was correct. I think, actually, Chris, you've already got 2 theories near enough correct. One, that the cast, that the guy in the sewer was the cast, because now we have this workshop that seems to be full of cast followers
members.
As well. They've got the picture of Kunlun in at the back of the workshop.
Yeah.
But the other one as well, to some extent, it's half true that Hogarth has brought together Jessica and Matt through Foggy together. So at least one half of the Defenders have matched up, as you said, through Hogarth rather than Claire Temple.
That's
like
right.
we thought.
Yes, that was your theory.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm telling you guys, I should be a writer at some point in one of these shows.
All right. But it is great to see Stick back, I must say. Stick is the mentor of Elektra and Daredevil. If you haven't watched Daredevil, the series, and jumped into Defenders for the first time, it's great to see him back. It's great to see him in the show, and I'm hoping he doesn't die because I love the character. I love his evil wit.
Yes. I have a question, though. The old friend, is that the old friend we've been battling for years against each other? Or is that the old friend, I used to be part of the cast, but then I went to the dark side?
And I think that question will have to wait till next week.
Yeah.
Don't you start doing Netflix style cliffhangers.
Absolutely. I was thinking exactly the same thing. You know, were they previously lovers in another age, or, you know, was she a member of the cast? Or, you know, what's this relationship between the two of them? But please don't bite.
Yeah, I can't wait to. And as Derek says, let's hold off on that because most likely we will be introduced to it quite early in episode 3.
Yeah.
But let's kind of bring it back to our final point, which is the biggie here. The one and only Danny and Luke, heroes for hire, team up, introduction, whatever we want to call it.
It's not really a team up, more of a face off at this stage.
Yes.
But it's awesome. Completely agree. This was so good. Massive smile watching this all the way through. I absolutely loved the moment where Luke is just standing there whilst Danny is kind of doing slow-mo karate kicks and punches to the chest and to the legs and all this kind of thing. And Luke Cage is just like looking at him, and like there's all this determination on Danny's face, and he's not making any inroads whatsoever. And I think he just gets flung down the alleyway or something. I just giggled all the way through that. I thought it was really good.
That was really good fun, wasn't it? Yeah, I love that moment. It's like Luke wants to bat away a fly, and that's probably why when the punch lands from Danny, why he's so shocked by that punch and flies himself across the other end of the alleyway.
And that's some power.
Similar to what John was saying, in that it wasn't even just the Iron Fist moment and kind of impact. The actual overall face-off was brilliant. But Mike Coulter, he didn't flinch an inch. So I'm trying to figure out how they recorded this as a whole, because it was slowed down, but like Mike Coulter took the punches without flinching.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to say, was this just like they filmed it in normal speed, but like with the guys moving super slowly,
Right.
and then just sped it up a tiny bit,
Maybe.
so that it looks like it was almost in slow-mo. So that's how you could almost punch a stone wall and not have it move,
Right.
kind of style. It was an interesting kind of choreography, cinematography question. I was like, how did they do that one?
I love when TV shows do that. It's always cool when you see something that you'd go, how is that possible? They didn't CGI his face to move, did they? That can't be possible.
Well, the CGI for the face did move. That was how they did that.
Well, okay, they did.
But I meant for the other parts.
Yeah.
But okay, guys, so let's hold on. This was a great moment, but let's discuss how the two quintessential men arrived at this intersection.
Yeah, because it's certainly separate. It's coming from their own separate ways, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah.
Unlike a bit of jiggery pokery from Hogarth and Foggy.
Yeah.
For the other two.
Yeah, it's quite cool here. So this is obviously on Luke's side of the house, the kind of case, I suppose, that Misty turned him on to about the kids in Harlem getting killed. He's following up on that case and bumps into one Mr. Turk Barrett.
Yeah, that was a great scene as well.
Yeah, great to see Rob Morgan back on the show. He's pretty much been on all of the series. Another one of the players that's crossed over most of the shows. Really cool to see him here. Love the fact that Luke takes him in back and holds him up against the wall and starts punching things around him.
Great little scene. I loved the smart aleck mouth of Turk here to Luke, and I just thought it was a really cool little scene. It says, "What part of this shit looks like it's up to me?" Like, just really, really nice line.
I want to be Turk in this episode because, like, Luke Cage smashing an open keg. It was just like that spray of beer all over you. I'm like, just had this vision of like Turk turning into like a Herbal Essences kind of shampoo and anti-dandruff kind of commercial where he's just kind of washing himself with beer, kind of like like flicking his hair.
Love it.
I love having Turk back. I'm hoping that's the end of our Turk kind of the usage for this series.
Oh, it will.
Because
it will.
Yeah, I'm hoping it was just a passing kind of like we'll throw him in quite quickly. But I'm questioning how many cameos are we going to call them? Is it because he's not really a cameo because he did have an integral part to the plot?
Yeah.
Like it's just how many are they going to introduce? Like, are we going to get Ward Meacham? Are we going to get Joy Meacham? Are we going to get Davos, for example? Those four. Are we going to get the twin sister, Typhoid Mary, from Jessica Jones? Just for the sake of having them in there? Or I'm questioning because we're 2 episodes in and I haven't seen much of it.
I know.
But it's kind of like, are they going to just have them in to kind of have that nice nod back?
I hope
or
so.
Are they going to make sure that these are... I'm hoping more it's the integral... Like, they'll put the people in, but it'll be integral for the story.
Well, yeah, that too. But what I also like about having these characters in there is that it does make it feel like a real city. The more people that you have around them that you've seen in the past, it makes it feel like, of course, they'd go and talk to Turk to get the information out of him. He's the one that gives up all the information. Luke's dealt with them before. Matt's dealt with them before. We may have Matt talking to Turk in the future to get more information out of him. It might be something like that. I don't think he's going to form a central part of the season, but it does make sense having him in there. It would be a bit odd if Ward Meacham isn't around, if Danny has to go to Rand Enterprises, because obviously we've had an entire season with Ward Meacham being behind the desk at Rand Enterprises, so it would be odd if we don't get a cameo from Ward Meacham at some point throughout the season.
Yeah.
Something like Joy and Davos, well, they were in France last time we saw them, so they may just still be in France. So that's an easy way to explain where they're
But we know Madame Gao is back, so therefore...
Yeah, but we get to see the new player in town as well, in Harlem, with the White Hat.
Yes, we do, yes.
Who's sending these lads on their mission to effectively, to acid wash. That's kind of like a commercial as well, Chris. Get those spots and pimples from your skin with the white hat acid wash.
So the two bits. One, a white hat, crocodile shoe wearing man. I was like, ooh, this is kind of going really on the nose. I'm like, I don't know who this character is. Until we get a name, I can't say, okay, they're picking this look and feel for this person because he is from a comic book, and he is obviously referenced or kind of some. I don't know yet who,
Nope.
but
Yeah.
the like having someone that 80s Bond villain looking kind of, I was like, oh, okay.
It felt Live and Let Die, definitely.
Yes, exactly. Like you have, was it Zoltan? Not Zoltan, Zoltan.
Oh, yeah, because it was with Jane Seymour. She's the tarot card reader, Live and Let
Yes.
Die. Yeah. I can't remember the big bad guy's name, but yeah. It felt, really kind of that 70s era.
Exactly. And of course, I was thinking of Diamondback. That's exactly the reaction we all had to Diamondback when he arrived, because he was flamboyantly dressed and looked very different from other characters around him. Felt like he was a comic book character. My understanding is this character is not from the comic books. This is a character created for the Defenders. We will find out his name, I think, in future.
The White Hat.
Yes, it is just the White Hat, but there is no character, the White Hat, in the comic books. The actor, John, we have seen before. We have seen him over on Gotham. He was the leader of the gang that went up against Fish Mooney in the Dollmaker's place in season 1.
Very cool.
So, yeah. So we have seen the actor before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's quite cool. And then on the other side, obviously, Danny and Colleen are finding their way to the cast, what they think is the cast.
Yeah, allies. There's that really good moment where Colleen is like saying, we have allies. There are other people here after they've come back to the dojo from being out in Southeast Asia. So they follow the trail of the Skamato sword that the guy in Cambodia had, which is not kind of this standard katana, that it's probably much more prestigious. It's very rare, but that ultimately leads them to this workshop then, where they go in and obviously find the rave that's not gone down too well with all the bodies, but then all these images of Kunlun as well. Actually, one of the great things I really noticed this episode was just the music around Danny and Colleen with the kind of mournful violins and stuff. I just think it frames him really well as a character. Like, right. It was really nice. Just the way they had this kind of, just this little reference in the music when he's on screen. I thought it was really cool, actually.
I like that. And it must be, the character's being treated as he's getting very frustrated with this. What I kind of like, if you think of the comparison between all the other characters in the show, Matt's given a case which is going to protect Jessica, and that's what he does, and he gets there. Jessica gets really frustrated because she spends about 15 minutes looking for companies and can't find them. She gets really annoyed. Luke's investigation takes him about, a day. He just follows a car, and then he's found his destination point, effectively. He knows exactly what's going on. Danny's been on the hunt for the Hand for more than 3 months with no leads. So I like this setup for the character at the start of the show, that he's frustrated and angry about the fact that he can't, even with all of his power, he can't do anything to avenge his parents' death now that he's found out who killed them. And he can't do anything about avenging the loss of Kunlun. No matter what he does, no matter who investigates, he can't get there. So it puts him in a nice position at the start of the show.
Yeah, definitely.
So I have a question, guys.
Uh-huh.
The cast.
Yes.
Do we think this is like the external force or the external army of Kunlun?
Perhaps.
If the Iron Fist is the weapon, the adversary of the Hand, could the cast be? Well, you're not gonna be wire monks, so out in the world, we're gonna have you as warriors. You're going to be our anti-Hand, because I can't understand the connection to Kunlun otherwise.
Right. They
need to be. Is that the Iron Fist is the Kunlun's back guy?
Yes, exactly.
And then if you have the Hand has their weapon being Black Sky. The cast has their weapon being the Iron Fist.
Yes. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you.
You agree with me on this?
Yeah,
I was trying to.
Yeah.
It just went through my head. I was like, I found it very hard, kind of imagining myself having a photo of some random town in Ireland.
Yeah.
Unless you had a connection, a deep connection.
Yeah, I think for me the way I kind of have seen it is it's almost like the army of heaven, effectively, and heaven is Kunlun. It feels like Alexandra has been to Kunlun.
Yes.
Stick's been there, Madame Gao's been there. It feels like a place that people that have a connection with the mystic side of the Marvel universe know all about Kunlun, and it's the place they want to get to and want to go back to, almost. Yeah. So this army protecting it, absolutely, it makes sense. Whenever Kunlun reappears, this army comes out to protect it along, and kind of knowingly, I suppose there's going to be a lot of them sacrificed to protect this city, because the only person that can defeat the Hand is Iron Fist. That's his task. But if you have 1,000 people running at you and you're the Iron Fist, even with that power, you probably do need a few other bodies beside you to at least block for a couple of minutes while you recharge your chi, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's what they are.
They are the expendable henchmen, basically.
Kind of. I don't know whether it says that on the job description, but I kind of feel that's what they are. Yeah.
They would get run over. What was that scene in Austin Powers? You remember? It was like it was the first one to kind of start showing you the life of the henchman.
Yes,
outside of the supervillain. Mm-hmm. That was brilliant. That's all I'm going to see now is some member of the Hand's going to get killed, and later on, I just want them to randomly go, John's been killed. At least we have the Hand's pension. It's fine. Right. Gents, I think that is all the major points from this episode.
Yeah, there's just a few notes. There is obviously the Elektra attack on Jessica's apartment when her case is there holding Malcolm hostage with a gun to his head saying, "Stay away from me, don't take this case." And again, it kind of echoes through from what Hogarth was saying to her to stay away. So you just wonder whether Hogarth has had dealings maybe with Alexandra in some way, or at least her company, the shell company. And John Raymond's bullet to the head as like Elektra comes storming in. He basically stops her, prevents her from killing him, or taking him hostage. Even we don't know, but I think he is absolutely petrified here. But yeah, shoots himself in the head.
Yes, absolutely.
And of course that really sets up Jessica then getting arrested outside her apartment by Misty.
That's right.
So yeah.
From my side, a note I wanted to bring in was the incident is mentioned again.
Yes.
At the very beginning. A very quick callback, Easter egg, if you will, to the Avengers incident in New York. The reason I like this now is because unlike the toss-away kind of callbacks we've had before to like the green guy, the guy with the shield, and the man in iron in a tin can. Aside from all those kind of throwaway comments, they were showing that the incident itself breeded a kind of bit of hysteria in New York. Like there's a fear that this stuff will happen again, which is actually, if you imagine, like the closest analogy we would have in real life would be a terrorist attack.
Yes.
And if you had a terrorist attack to the level of New York, obviously they did, but I'm saying as a proxy to the kind of the incident, an earthquake would make you, holy God, what's going on? Yeah. Like, is this happening again? And I actually, like, this is the side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the reasons I love the Netflix shows is because you do get this more, okay, yes, they have 8 hours versus a 2.5 hour, 3 hour movie. But it's more that we get to see this deeper side of the actual universe itself.
Yeah, totally.
People are, like, if we imagine, like, Lagos and Brussels, what happened in Civil War, and Berlin, the airport. Like, the next time a superhero lands, people are going to be afraid. Yeah. And because it's like, oh no, there's an impending battle what's going on.
But the other nice touch about this as well is that it's an earthquake, so that wouldn't trigger someone like Iron Man to come down and help out the local people, because it's an earthquake, and it's these kind of things are things that don't necessarily get superheroes down. It's not like the incident happening against New York. It's just using something like that to say, because the incident happened in the past, this is why people are more scared in New York of bigger things like that happening, of earthquakes and that kind of thing, because they've had something really bad happen in the past, and if your apartment starts to shake, you're going to think, oh God, it's happening again.
Yeah.
It's a nice touch. And also, if they'd gone the entire 8 episodes of The Defenders without mentioning the word the incident after 60 odd episodes so far of the shows, mentioning it at least once, I think it would have been a bit silly. So they had to work it in somewhere. It was a great way to work it in.
Yeah, I'm still expecting Coulson just to do a walk by very soon in this suit.
Yeah.
Come on, Phil.
Yeah, come on, Phil. Come on, Stephen Strange.
Oh, yeah.
So, gentlemen, unless you have any other notes, I would like to kind of wrap it up for now, because I'm dying to see episode 3.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who are just joining us for episode 2, the way we do this now is we do ask each other, do we defend this, and kind of give our summary of the episode. So, to kick it off, Derek, do you defend episode 2 of The Defenders?
This is absolutely what I wanted when I started out the podcast 2.5 years ago, thinking, oh wow, we're going to get 4 shows and then we're going to have them all work together on TV. This is exactly what I was hoping for. We've now gotten very deep and rich shows between that point and getting to this point now. And just as they start to coalesce in episode 2, this is what gets me excited. This is the point where I'm going, ooh, Jessica's interacting with Matt. Ooh, Luke's interacting with Danny. Even though they're different to the interactions that I'm hoping for. I'm hoping they all go out for a beer at some point in the future. Or a pizza, maybe.
Chinese.
But maybe. But I'm hoping that that happens later on in the series. But I'm loving these lines where they're drawing those characters out from their own shows, out from their own parts of the city, and pushing them closer and closer together. So, and I know we're getting very close to the point when all 4 of them are going to be working together. And that's going to be really exciting as well. So this is exactly what I wanted. I absolutely defend this episode. Really, really happy with it.
Mr. Harrison, do you defend episode 2 of The Defenders?
Oh, I do. I do defend this episode of Defenders. I would give this 4.6 magnitude on the Richter scale out of 5.
Nice.
Oh, yes. So it is a proper earth shaker.
Yes, it is a earth shaker. Yes, absolutely loved this episode. I think, as Derek said, the coming together of 2 halves of the Defenders here. One purposefully with Matt. I mean, that ending really where he just comes in and goes, Jessica Jones, stop talking. I'm Matthew Murdock. I'm your attorney.
Yes.
Like, absolutely great finish there, I think, to the episode. And also then just having... I mean, I just absolutely loved every moment of Luke and Danny meeting up, and just the way it was done. It was funny. It was intense. You know, they both got their moves in. Really, really enjoyed it. Just these different threads starting to come together, of Danny's investigation, Luke's, sort of getting back into the groove in Harlem, finding out about the White Hat, the new boss in town in Harlem. And then just getting more, of Alexandra there, where she's listening to the quartet, and just her relationship with Stick, and just this idea that she is this experienced woman that goes back across centuries like Gao. Really enjoying that, and finding out that we have a door in that hole. Not the Millennium Falcon or a big hand, but maybe the hand will still come through the door.
Yeah.
Well, the hand is trying to get through the door. Absolutely.
It's knocking. It's knocking on the other
It's
side.
knocking on the door. But yeah, absolutely defend this episode of The Defenders. And Chris, do you defend this episode?
I 100% do, guys. I can't. There's not much more to say that you guys haven't said. For some of the niggly little things I've seen, or like the certain... Like, for now, for example, in episode 2, they don't have the lighting direction the same. So the lights, there weren't any deep reds for
yeah.
Matt. So it was obviously that was an episode one thing, but I was like, oh, imagine they kind of continued this through. Like that is potentially my only criticism so far of this kind of episode.
Right.
Like out of an hour-long episode, I'm like struggling to find this. And obviously, I do have rose-tinted shades, as Derek, as you said.
Maybe you just couldn't see the lighting then, Chris.
Potentially, yeah. And also wearing rose-tinted shades indoors is never a good thing. It's as you said, Derek. It's 2.5 years ago we got the announcement that they were bringing these 4 shows plus culminating in a Defenders and a tie-up mini-season. That is what we've got now. And the lore is so deep. The overall story, I feel, is professional enough, is strong enough, and mysterious enough that I'm dying to go to each next episode. Not because it's a Netflix show.
Yeah.
The way Netflix setting it up and the beautiful that they want you to binge to the next one and the next one and the next one. I'm just more, I want to know what's in the hole.
Yeah.
Behind the door. I want to know everything about Alexandria. I want to know why Stick's there. Why is the cast dead? Like all these questions that are central to the plot, but also more kind of expansion and more exploratory.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I actually just wonder on that as well. Again, it almost favors the point of that Iron Fist should have had a bit more about Kunlun there. You know, seeing that picture of Kunlun in this workshop.
Yeah.
Again, just to bring that mythology and how it interacts with the cast and the hand. Those 3 different groupings. It just kind of almost strengthens that point a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping now with that, as you said, that we'll get a better introduction to the cast as a whole throughout the next 4, 5, 6 episodes, and kind of they explain the background. But overall, I completely, and I'm just rambling at this point, so I'm going to close it down because I also have to see that Derek, our producer, is kind of doing the wrap-up sign. I wholeheartedly defend this episode. It's a fantastic continuation on a series that I'm dying to watch more of.
Excellent. No feedback for this episode, obviously, because you guys are way too busy watching the episodes to send us some feedback right now. We understand. It's okay. When you finish an episode, all you need to do is go to our website at defenderstvpodcast.com. You'll see a send voicemail button over on the left-hand side. Mark it with the episode you've watched and let us know your thoughts on that episode, and we'll discuss them on our podcast in the next episode. That's all you need to do. Or if you want to send us a traditional old email, you can email us to feedback@defenderstvpodcast.com with any of your thoughts. You can also join us over in our group. As Chris mentioned earlier on, we have a spoiler post up there for each of the episodes where you can talk about it with other people who've watched the episodes without spoiling the people that haven't. So come join us over there on Facebook as well.
And of course, you can go and follow us over on Twitter as well and get all the latest news and happenings as we drop the podcast on @DefendersCast on Twitter. But more importantly, we would love, if you have not yet, that you subscribe to our show and spread the love that is the Defenders as your friends watch it. So you can subscribe to us at defenderstvpodcast.com/iTunes, or going to any cast or hand affiliated podcast catchers around the world and just doing kind of subscribing to us there. But of course, as I said, we'd love if you share the love. So tell your friends, add some Facebook groups, subscribe, rate, review, whatever you need to do. But just, we would love to get as many Defenders, or fellow Defenders, I should say, in with us listening as these episodes continue on throughout the next couple of weeks. Guys, I think it's time that we go on and watch episode 3. For those of you who are listening, this is obviously being available on Friday the 18th. And of course, you can pick us up on any good hand or cast affiliated podcast catcher or over on iTunes every Monday and Friday going forward. And the next episode, episode 3, will be available to you to listen to on Monday the 21st of August. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to shut off now and I'm going to go put my feet up and watch episode 3.
Absolutely.
What are they going to do with Stick?
Absolutely. I'm off to do Hair of the Dog whilst watching The Defenders.
Yes, looking forward to episode 3. Thanks for joining us, fellow Defenders. We'll be back on Monday, the 21st of August. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, as always, thank you for joining us, and we'll speak with you next time. Bye.
Bye.